Giant Bikes is a bicycle manufacturer, a brand. I think what a lot of people probably don't know about Giant is they actually own their own factory in Taiwan and China, and they're actually I don't know if they're the largest, but they're one of the largest bicycle manufacturers in the world, and they actually produce or manufacture bikes for a lot of the well-known brands in the U.S. So they are both a brand in the US and a manufacturer, and they manufacture bikes across all bike types. So cruiser, comfort, road, mountain. They tend to have a pretty big presence in the road and mountain bike category. That's a big focus for them. They sponsor some professional road cycling teams, and they are top three bike brand in the US. The way 630 compares to Giant is it's simple yet complicated. So the one thing about 630, what makes us different from a lot of bike companies is we're very focused. When you talk about a bike company like Giant, it's a very broad company. They produce bikes in every single category. So they're spending their time thinking about, how do we do road bikes? How do we do mountain bikes? How do we do BMX bikes? Here at 630, we're essentially focused on three major categories, which is cruiser, comfort, hybrid, with the overtone of comfort. So the way we differ from Giant really is the emphasis on comfort. Giant is more focused on performance. And not to say that we're not focused on, we don't care about performance, but we're striving for exceptional comfort, and we want our performance to at least be at a high level. So Giant, what they're focusing on more so is output of the bike. How much faster can it be? How much more efficient can it be? Especially because they have a big emphasis in road bikes. And when you talk about the road bike rider, they're really looking for a bike that can go fast, can be very light, can get people from A to B very quickly. At 630, we're thinking about how do we take pressure off of your joints? How do we make sure when you get off the bike, your rear end isn't hurting, your upper back isn't hurting, your shoulders isn't hurting? So I think a big difference right there between 630 and Giant is really design emphasis. What we're focusing on when we design bikes versus what they focus on when they design bikes. Another big difference between us would be the emphasis on design and style and color selection. So typically Giant, when you look at their color palette, they stick to very neutral, generic tones, a lot in the silvers and grays and whites, and that goes even across the women's bikes to some degree. Whereas at 630, we're really looking at customer intimacy, and we're looking at how do we develop as many different color palettes for as many different consumers as possible. And when you look at our color palette, we're really trying to be in line with style and trends. So our color palette is really in the aquas, the teals, the purples, the magentas. Like, we're not afraid to put color on our bikes. When you look at Giant, it's way more neutral tones, way more subdued, things of that nature. So those are really, really two big differences between Giant and 630. The other thing too is price point. So we have a very focused window of price point. We're looking to give consumers the best value for the price. Giant is looking, how do we sell, $10,000 road bikes down to, probably as low as $500 bikes. And at 630, we're saying, how do we give consumers the best bikes from $200 to $500? And these bikes are designed for, a certain type of cyclist that wants a good bike, is comfortable, can get them places, but isn't going to cost them $2,000. Whereas Giant's looking at, how do we make the best bike no matter how much it costs? So neither good nor bad, different philosophies, different customer bases. Ours a little bit more focused, theirs a little bit more broad. When is it right to choose a 630 bike over a Giant bike? This would really depend on what you're looking for. So in case one, if you're focused on comfort it would be right to choose a 630 over a Giant bike. If you're a rider that is looking for the best riding position that's going to alleviate pain or take concern for your shoulders or joints or knees or backs, you would be best to choose a 630 over a Giant bike. Without a doubt, we design our bikes with more emphasis on comfort and things of that nature. Giant, again, as I said, puts more focus on performance. Secondly, it'd be best to choose a 630 over a Giant if you're concerned with style, fashion, and trend. We put a lot of time and energy into looking up the hottest colors of the season and the hottest color combinations. And we want to make sure we're putting forth bikes that, look not like a bike necessarily, right? We're designing to make it look like an accessory for you. Your bike is basically an extension of your body, and so you want it to mimic your personality. So we design all of our bikes with that in mind. I think Giant, again, spends more time on performance, less time on the stylistic aspects. So if you're concerned with style and trend, you'd be right to go with a 630. Thirdly, I think if value is a big concern, you'd be right to choose a 630 over a Giant. We are set up to be primarily an online-based company. As a result, we're offering better prices and better value direct to our customers. Giant has a whole other chain that they're selling to bike shops, selling to you. There's a lot more markup happening in that. And we're also looking, as being a smaller player in the bike industry, we're looking to how can we add as much value into our products as possible to get riders to choose 630 over some of the bike brands that have been in existence for much longer. So if you're really looking to get as many features packed into your bike for as good a price as possible, you'd be right to choose 630 over Giant. Lastly, I would say if you're a woman searching for a recreational bike, you'd be best to choose 630 over Giant. Specifically, I say women because we offer a deeper color selection for women than any other bike company, specifically in this case, Giant. We actually sell more women's bikes than men's bikes. And I think a lot of that has to do with the amount of options that we offer the female rider. And that's something we pay attention to. And we know for our specific customer base that, as I said previously, you don't just want to ride a bike to get around, but you want to make sure it fits your personality. So if you're a woman rider really looking for something that's stylistically better than what's out there, specifically better than Giant, you'd be best choosing 630.